Warren here.
Very good here.
John Gamelke here.
Tony Perry here.
George Jones here.
David Adams here.
Arden Weatherford here. All right, pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get to additions, deletions, I just want to make a comment that the agenda did not get posted. Our access to Civics Plus didn't work. And so I think we're gonna have to just change the modality and get it to the city a couple weeks ahead of time so that we don't have that issue. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
Yesterday, we had the council retreat, so Nicole was not in the office. That's probably
Okay,
how that got missed. I'm sorry about that.
well, it's, yeah, I think it's the software system. Anyway, so I just wanted to put that out there. The good news is today, we just have the minutes and then we have some expenses to ratify, not approve, since they've already been submitted. So a very light agenda, so we'll get moving so we can get out of here. So are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Bourne
See?
moves to approve as written.
Oh, we're not there yet. Okay, the consent agenda for the minutes from May 7th.
May 7th.
And take your time if you want to review them. They're fairly short. Well, they have been reviewed by the chair. They have been reviewed by the secretary. Thank you again to Michaela for putting them together for us. So let's just take a moment and look through them. Now I'll entertain a motion whenever someone is ready.
Bourne moves to approve as presented.
Miharis second.
Does anyone wish additional time? Okay, we will call for a verbal vote.
Bourne, yes.
Good, yes.
Gamelke, yes.
Perry, yes.
Jones, yes.
Miharis, yes.
Weatherford, yes.
Okay. Any public comment on items not on the agenda? Up? Okay, Ms. Betterman?
You all know, my buddies, we are just here, because this is our hobby. To keep an eye on what happens in our city. Evelyn's, and her family have lived here for 60-some years. I've lived here 22. Kitten Walker is a business owner. I would like to plant a seed in your thinking today, because many of us who've gone to the Citizens Academy can see that when you plan for a city, you know all the details, you know, the way the water runs and which way the poison goes. And what I would like to plant a seed in your head, put thoughts in your head, is because I am a player in the Woodland Park Wind Symphony. And we need a place. We can't play anymore in the Ute Cultural Center because it doesn't hold enough people. We have excellent players that are retired military. So when I sit in front of the trumpet players, they are professionals. We have people coming all the way from Buena Vista, of course, Colorado Springs. We have one of the best community bands around. And we practice at the Methodist Church. And we had to play at Nazarene because there weren't enough seats at the Ute Cultural Center. So if there are 60 of us and more than 300 people are coming, I would love for you to think about a symphony hall or a performing arts hall. And my fearless leader said we only need 300 seats. But when those of us get together, we have a place to keep our expensive equipment. And we could practice in the same place that we play. And we need parking. And we know that you guys have been thinking about parking and things. If a builder comes along and says, I am willing to do this, I would like the road to be paved open for a Woodland Park hall for performing arts. And we would use it the most, of course. We are a well-known community band, and we are bringing more and more people in. When we went to the Nazarene Church, they had more room for us than the Cultural Center, but we had no parking. So we had to ask the people at the fire department if they would let us park, and they said, of course. They have a big field with grass in it. So when we get to that point where we have so many people coming, I would just like to ask everyone who works for the city and has authority if they would just open their minds to this. And if it comes along that somebody has the inspiration, there are people who own property right now, Weatherford, Sikowski's, Wagner's, maybe they would be open to the idea of building us a hall. Also, the hall would bring people in from all over and spend money. After we perform, we always want to go out for coffee and dessert. So next to the hall, we have to have a place for dessert and coffee. These are things I would like to plant seeds in our planning commission and anyone in our city who has authority. And that's all I need to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Fetterman. And I do enjoy that group, so. Okay, there is no unfinished business. And so I think we have a brief update from Tava.
Good morning, everyone. So the latest on Tava is we're in this phase of, we've done a lot of resubmittals to different agencies, the City of Woodland Park for preliminary plat, CDOT for our design changes and their requests for improvements to Highway 24. We've submitted to Pikes Peak Regional Building Department. So now we're waiting on comments. There's been great interaction. Thank you, Aaron, with the city and timely responses. We're all working as fast as we can. But we're waiting on CDOT. We're waiting on Regional Building Department to get some comments back. The item that we're all focused on right now is a subdivision development agreement, the SDA. It's an important document with the city and us as the applicant, the developer. And we are working hard on that to get, this is involving the city attorney and our attorney and comments and that sort of thing. So that's where we are with SDA. It'll take some time. We're hoping to get it worked on this month. I don't know that we can get it voted on this month. It goes to city council. Probably in July is when it's going to happen. And that's a big threshold to cross with the city. That's it. That's all. We're moving ahead. We're pressing forward, full steam ahead.
A lot of grind work right now,
Yep.
but important.
Hurry up and wait a little bit.
Yep.
Any questions? Subdivision development agreement. It's literally the agreement between us as the developer and the city that says, this is how we are going to do things. And it's a legally binding document. We had to do it when we bought the Woodland Station property, but for Tava, this development, this is the new SDA. Aaron, is that a fair assessment?
Yes, and it allows for the process to be the way we need it to be.
Yep.
Hey, Mark,
You bet.
Mark,
Mark,
Oh, sorry.
I was just wondering, obviously you guys moving quite a bit of soil over there.
Yeah.
Getting that ready.
Yep.
what's the status on the Fountain Creek headwaters? You know, what kind of provisions are you guys making for that? Is there any report on that?
No, I'm looking at our
Yeah.
civil engineer.
So Jared, we processed a import grading plan in order to stockpile that soil.
Hmm.
Our first phases of development don't impact the creek, so we're really doing just all the erosion control. We filed with the state, we've done all the required.
I was just curious, does it look like everything was getting covered?
No, we're not filling that channel.
All right, thanks.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Thank you, Mr. Weaver.
You bet.
All right. There's no new business, so we'll move on. So chair report, first of all, Mr. Cabrera is not here today. His son is doing his first solo flight. And it was scheduled for this afternoon, but they rescheduled it for this morning. And of course, that's a priority for all of us, his family. So he definitely had a free hall pass there. So I wanted to point out, and I got clarification yesterday from Ms. Leclerc. We do have a June 20th deadline for DDA board applications. Currently, we have three positions, Mr. Cabrera, Mr. Gamelki, and Mr. Good's positions are up. So far, Mr. Cabrera and Mr. Gamelki have reapplied. The chair is gonna encourage Mr. Good to reapply. And also encourage anyone out there in the district who has an interest in serving. The requirements are that you either have to own a building within the district boundaries, or you have to rent a space within the district boundaries, or be an employee of a business that operates within the district boundaries. So sans that, again, I would advocate and support all three of our current board members to come back if they so wish, and two have applied so far, so. Okay, second, I'll call it the Voss Building / Martini Hut. I'll reverse it this time. Finally made contact with Mr. Nayujan yesterday. Been trying for months and months and months and months. The last we heard, his mom had a health situation. In the meantime, his aunt has had a health situation, and his brother-in-law passed away unexpectedly at an early age. So they've had a few turbulent things going on. However, he still indicated that their desire is to place a restaurant there. That is the background of their family business. You know, I offered to help in any way possible to explore what that might be and what that would take. He also I also indicated that we have parties who are interested in maybe doing a little cosmetic work on the building. So I'm working to see if he's open to getting that done quickly so that we can clean up that look for our community before the summer season. The only thing we have to get lined out is make sure there's no liability there. If a party steps up willing to do that work, make sure that we've done it properly to protect everyone. So at least this communication. I also connected him with another party who's very interested in preserving the Voss building to see if they could provide some assistance. With my, I guess, banker hat on, I'm skeptical that we can get the numbers to work. But I'm trying to keep an open mind. I think most importantly, that it doesn't remain an eyesore for the community. So we'll see. Hopefully that communication will actually start picking up some pace and see if they can get to a conclusion sooner than later. Third, the organizational meeting. So the deadline for applying for positions is June 20th. The city council will review those applications, I think on the 27th, if I'm not mistaken. and they'll vote on reappointments or no reappointments or whatever, however that turns out. And so in July every year, this body does elections for the positions, which includes chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer. So again, I will encourage anyone interested in any of those roles to contemplate them. I will say that I believe that we have all the mechanisms in place to do this job as elegantly as possible. And what I mean by that is over the last couple of years, I've leveraged tools at my disposal like e-signatures and DocuSign and those kind of things. But I have backed off and I've created a manual system so that if you don't have those tools, if someone wants to be chair or treasurer, we still have a process for doing that. So I think we have a pretty tried and true process that's repeatable. So don't be afraid to step up and want to take one of those positions. I am completely open to not being the chair. I will say that and I did this last year at this time, that if there's a desire for me to continue as chair, I would be open to that. I only have 1 year left. I'm not going to go for a second DDA term. My agenda would be that I believe this year, this body should make a recommendation to city council on the future of the DDA. What I mean by that is whether we recommend the extension of the DDA in 2032. It may seem early, but it really isn't when you consider TIF deals and how they work, and making that decision informs as to what we can enter into, not enter into. Also, for this next year, I think it's time to turn our attention a little bit to something the DDA did back in 2009-ish. We do have the ability to create a grant program for their businesses in the district. What they did back then, and it was a small amount. I can't remember, Mr. Good, do you remember the amount? Yeah, 5 or 10,000, something like that. Yeah, so basically the concept was that a grant program where businesses in the district could apply for this grant with the goal of using those. They would have to present a plan to spruce up the business, repaint the building, fix something, make it more desirable, those kind of things. Obviously with $5,000 or $10,000, there's not much you can do in today's world, but sometimes a little bit of elbow grease and monies go a long way to giving a refresh, if you will. I believe similar to 2009, I think a lot of small businesses are under pressure right now economically, and I think it's going to get a little bit worse before it gets better, in my opinion. So I think that's something we can consider under part of our charter, where we do have purview to talk about beautification of the downtown district. So something to consider. Something I would advocate if we put a proper structure in place with some accountability. So third, I think continued effort to obviously move something along with the Boss Building Martini Hut in terms of encouraging some activity there. And I think there's actually another couple of businesses in town that could use a little bit of encouragement there as well, that have been shuttered for a little while. Looking at what's happening kind of in the marketplace, not specific, nothing to do with Woodland Station. I think there is a possibility of some parties coming to us in this next year for a TIF deal or rehab on certain projects and properties. We'll see if that emerges. And all I will say there is, we're typically TIF deals we've done historically have been 10 years. So if we did a TIF deal this next year, it's obviously gonna be a compressed time frame, particularly if we contemplate that the DDA will be shut down in 2032 potentially. And so just some things to put in the back of our mind. For the most part, I think hopefully we could sit and monitor and support the progress of Woodland Station and look for opportunities to improve the downtown businesses. So enough of that, but that said, I believe we have multiple persons on this body that are capable of stepping up and taking one of these roles and even a leadership role. And I would encourage that. I think it's healthy. It's not that hard of a game, so. Okay, in the board report, treasurer's report, I'll do for Mr. Cabrera since he is not here on page 7. We have the legal expense reimbursement. You saw this last time, but this has been submitted. So, after we discuss the next item, I'll entertain a motion to ratify the expenses. On page 11, you'll see the one-page spreadsheet that basically the city of Woodland Park, the DDA, we have a spreadsheet for each TIF deal where we're calculating the TIF reimbursement that's proper for each deal. This is only one page of the whole worksheet. So this is the worksheet that the DDA has verified, and then the city has verified that the number is correct. And how you read this is in the yellow line under TIF reimbursement. Mr. Taylor of Taylor Mountain Enterprises is eligible for a $14,480.53 TIF reimbursement. So behind that, you'll see Mr. Taylor's spreadsheet on page 12, which if you look at the bottom right most number, you'll see that those two numbers match. So we actually agree with Mr. He did it a little bit differently than our worksheet, but the bottom line number is still calculated the same. And then you'll also see starting on page 13, 14, 15, 16, Mr. Taylor has submitted his receipt for tax payments. So that's one of the other requirements, is that we verify that the taxes have indeed been paid before we do the reimbursement. So Mr. Taylor has satisfied the requirements. We've confirmed the amount. We actually even sent it to our attorney just to have him look at it because of a few other factors. But at this juncture, I would entertain a motion to ratify the two expenses, the legal expense and the TIF reimbursement for Taylor Mountain Enterprises.
Bourne will move to ratify those expenses as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Bourne. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Weatherford seconds.
Mr. Weatherford seconds. Okay, is there any discussion, questions? Okay. Good. We'll call for the roll call vote.
Bourne, yes.
Good, yes.
Gamelki, yes.
Perry, yes.
Jones, yes.
Miharis, yes. Weatherford, yes.
Okay, the final item and what makes the packet look really impressive is, as you know, we entered into a TIF deal with AJ's Pizza. And there was one component missing that we've been waiting for. And it starts on page 17, goes to page 18, and then 19 is just a blank attachment page. Basically, to make the agreement fully documented, we needed the certification of eligible cost. That's one of the requirements in the TIF agreement that we added in this last, Mr. McCaskill added this last TIF agreement. So basically on page 17 and 18, AJ's Pizzas are certifying that all the expenses related to the redo of AJ's Pizza in that building were proper and accounted for. And they've also included all the supporting documentation with respect to the expenses because again, we also have a duty to verify that if we've approved this TIF deal, that the expenses actually occurred, they were actually paid, and now they're certified by the engineer. So we have no action on this, other than to put it on the record that AJ's Pizza has completed their final requirement, and they are eligible once they show proof of Pat's payment for reimbursement according to the TIF deal. Does that make sense? Okay, so there is no action required. This is just a mechanism to get this on the record and to put on the record that they met the final requirement of the TIF agreement. Okay. Okay, that's it for the treasurer's report for this month. Any board members wish to make a report?
Bourne has nothing additional.
Okay.
I don't have anything at this time.
Jones has nothing either.
Nothing from me.
And our city attorney is actually on family vacation, but his his co-worker was available if we needed him, but we didn't, so there is no city attorney's report. So I would entertain a motion. Oh, hold on.
I just speak real quick.
Well, it's out of order, but I'll allow it, Kitty.
Thank you.
Yeah, you need to come to the microphone.
Tony, can I also,
Oh, yes.
oh,
I'll let Mr. Vassiletti speak.
two things. At the next DDA meeting, I will ask the city engineer to come in and give an update on the median project that's gonna happen later this summer, because
Okay.
that's right in the downtown corridor, so I think that's appropriate. Also, at the last council meeting, they did approve the supplemental for Netco transfer, so I will ask you to do a direct payment so that we can approve that payment and get it issued.
Okay.
Okay.
So we just need to submit the
Yes,
direct payment?
correct.
Can I use or can we use the same form as we do for TIF? Okay. Awesome. Miss Kitty.
Okay, so I would like to ask that the qualifications for applying for the DDA be modified, because not that I'm interested, let's clarify that right now. But I feel like you're limiting the prospective people that, you know, they might not have a business in the DDA area, but they would be qualified and interested. Not, and I don't know anyone, but I just feel like you're limiting the prospective board members with the current qualifications. So that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, the only thing I will say to that is that that mechanism was decided on in the foundational plan
Mhm.
and probably went by the DDA guidelines at the time. I
Mhm.
think it would be very difficult to change any of that structure at this point.
Mhm.
And I think the theory, based on my study, is that the businesses in the district were the ones affected. And so
Mhm.
to have them have a voice within the district. So
Mhm.
I don't know. So I hear what you're saying. I get it. But I doubt that an effort to change those guidelines would be worth the effort at this
Mhm.
juncture.
Mhm.
So thank you for the thought.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Vassiletti?
That was it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Look forward to those reports. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Bourne moves to adjourn.
We are adjourned at 8:01. Thank you.